Good evening. Wednesday, November 20th, 2024 on the Gregorian calendar. On the 13 moon Galactic Dreamspell calendar, it is Overtone 6. We have entered the 5th month of this particular time tracking system, and the tone that is associated with the 5th month is the Overtone Moon of Radiance. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to anybody that is hearing about the 13 moon calendar for the first time, but starting a couple of months ago, I decided in an effort to shift more into, I've been utilizing this calendar for 14 years, knocking into my 15th year now, and I believe it's one of the greatest tools that I've had in and on my spiritual awakening journey. And I want to detach more and more from the Gregorian calendar. So in an effort to do that, I am now at least stating both dates, even though the 13 moon one likely doesn't make sense to a lot of people. I do have a 13 moon calendar playlist on my YouTube channel. I do have a presentation that I had intended to do more actual. I've only presented it once, and I intended to do much more of that in 24. But my business partnership ended up taking me in a direction this year, absolutely fantastic and wonderful, but I am intending and hoping to do more with exposing more and describing more of my experience with this particular time tracking system over the course of the upcoming months and weeks, months, and years. With that said, I have not done a recording in an extremely long time. So this one's likely going to be all over. I'm just jumping in and touching. Again, there's only a few dozen people that have been consistently watching. So for the one or two of you that will watch this, this update is for you. Post-storm, getting hit with, essentially here in Sarasota, we got hit with 4 storms this year. One was not a named storm. Two, which is in June. To date, the most rain I've ever seen on my street. I literally had kayakers going down my street. This was in June. Then we had Debbie in July or August. We had Debbie, which also was not technically a hurricane, was just a tropical storm. That absolutely destroyed 2 neighborhoods, one only 1.5 miles from me. Then we had Helene, and then we had Milton. And the experience on the other side of Milton absolutely sort of, I'd say, brought me to my knees. But I still don't really have words for, let's just say it this way. I feel like we went through the eye of a needle of some sort during that storm. And when I emerged on the other side, we're not in Kansas anymore. Like, honest to God, did not feel like the same reality. That, again, will only make sense to others who are sensitive to the massive energy shifting taking place on this planet. Thankfully, I have 1 or 2 folks in my world with whom I can talk about that sort of experience with. They also were feeling very, 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 I was very wobbly for 2 to 3 weeks after that storm. Lost a lot of work. But of course, that in comparison to what so many people lost from Florida to Tennessee to North Carolina to Georgia, I think even parts of Virginia, obviously losing, a few grand plus of work is not that big of a deal relative to everyone else. But relative to my story, that was a pretty hard result of the storms and the aftermath, because these were big ones. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, I was down for the count post-storm. And much like has been commonplace now for over 12 years, I have going, as each week and month passes, I feel like I have less and less of a vocabulary of words to use to describe the nuances and the subtleties of all that I am feeling and experiencing. And post storm, it was off the charts what it was to try to wrap my head around what I was feeling. Um, I definitely felt element of guilt because I did not have to go very far at all. Our barrier islands were destroyed to see massive destruction. I know people and knew people at my gym who had lost everything. One of my closer gym friends, a guy I know that lives on Siesta Key, lost everything. So it was like there was some survivor's guilt going on. It was I don't know that I've had post traumatic stress disorder I've had some traumatic things for sure happen in my life. Most of us have. So I think anybody that's gone through anything traumatic, there's a period of time where there's, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it lingers and it can vary and it's on a spectrum. And I've definitely had episodes of that, I would say multiple times in this lifetime. But this was very it was intense. It was intense to try to get my bearings after the storm. And honestly, I'm not so sure that I can claim that I am fully recalibrated. I think a ton of new energy was released, became available. It all has to do with energy. And that was a massive energetic experience. It released a massive amount of energy. I mean, new energies are bombarding the planet. There's just so much going on in the unseen world of energy. And again, I'm hugely sensitive. So each time that a shift like that happens, it's like a recalibration that has to take place. And I swear to you, the entire of Gregorian year 2024, it has been experience after experience of these sorts of big energetic shifts. And I swear, just as soon as I find my bearings and get solid, another one hits. This isn't a bad thing, but it is absolutely draining. And of course, that is being done as I, continue to have to navigate my everyday world. Stuff in my partnership in my business with my partner within the event world. We are ending the season here, these last four events, on such a high note. It has been such an incredible year, and we've already begun to sort of evaluate this year and start intentions for next year. But we're also kind of trying to hold back a little bit because we still have some big events to get through this year. And some weekends we have people at multiple events, which is just unbelievable and exciting and honestly unexpected. And it's so much of what I'm doing is so hyper focused to living it first and sharing it second. So the sharing of it it's not a story that is yet going to appeal to tons and tons and tons of people in the traditional way, because the sharing of it and the internet part of it and the non-person, the part that's not in person, is just honestly a distant second from what the primary goal is, which is to get into motion in the live, quote unquote, real world. All of these energies of the awakening, of the shift, of the ascension, whatever you want to call it, I want to be engaged in those in building the new earth every minute of, when I'm out there in the world. And that's it's been the dream from moment one since launching my company of me, which I'm coming up fast here on the 12-year anniversary, 10 days away from my 12-year anniversary. That has been the vision and the goal from day one, but it has taken so much longer than I thought. And a huge amount of my time is still spent, I would say, navigating more of the world I don't really believe in, the world of limitations, the paradigm and the systems within which that still sort of dominate mass consensus reality. Knowing we are in the shift, we are definitely in the shift. Believing ascension is real, believing it is happening, believing actually that in my lifetime, in this lifetime as Alyson, we are going to be experiencing this, for lack of a better phrase, this new earth. I actually feel deeply that it's within a decade. It actually might even be within 5 years' time of really, really, really beginning to see the new earth reveal itself in the physical, in the masses, in visible, viable, practical, real ways. It's definitely been present. I mean, once you have an awakening to it, it's there, it's present. And you can certainly see it with your mind's eye and feel it in your heart and remember it at a soul level. Because I would argue that any of us that are down here, many of us that are down here in form on this planet at this time have done this before. Certainly, if you're resonating with my work, if you're watching my work at this time for any reason, rest assured you've done this before, because this is still the early stages where I've been saying for a long time, I'm right now the people that are calling most for the energy that's coming through me. It's the early adopters of the awakening. Let's say it that way. The early adopters, the folks that aren't trying to be convince or debate anybody, but have known in their hearts they don't really belong on the planet in sort of the mainstream way, and have always dreamed of and imagined and touched in and resonated with almost a completely different sort of version of reality. And there's a reason why we tapped in and felt that. And so those that for whom that's an accurate description have been waiting for these times and preparing for these times. And so, and not everybody is intended to see it, feel it, desire it, want it, consciously be a part of it. Not everybody is intended for that. I kind of have a hypothesis that no matter what, everybody is being affected by this, whether they want to or are conscious of it or not. But not everybody is going to be at the same at the place here of being able to really see, believe it. You got to believe in it first, because you can't see it unless you believe it. And so the belief in something different has to be the key component, and the first sort of necessary prerequisite before you really start seeing it. And to see it play out in the way that it has this year, it's so amazing. And I have to refrain from wanting to critique the parts of it that still aren't like my dream of dream. I'm gonna refrain from that, and I'm gonna focus only on how incredible the whole experience has been, what the partnership and what it's done for me, and my business partner, and how aligned and perfectly matched we are to be doing this, despite our completely different lived experiences, completely different personalities in a lot of ways. And yet we are like unbelievably harmoniously matched. And I know that that is how all relationships can and will be in the new earth. And so really having the opportunity to feel this sort of experience of co-creation. It's powerful co-creation. And we have done such a fantastic job of letting go and surrendering to the greater power. And it's like a red carpet continues to be unfolded in front of us. And it's just humbling, it's empowering, it's inspiring, it's amazing. And even if it's not quite yet, utilizing the best of my skills, if it's not quite yet being directed towards projects that really move my heart and soul, the high level dynamics of it is beyond words awesome, and so validating to my own vision and to the leap of faith, and what guided me to take my 6-figure leap of faith now almost 12 years ago. So I've got four very large gigs. Well, no, two of them are smaller, two of them are quite good size over the next 4 weeks. Actually, I've got six gigs remaining. I've got a lot going on between now and the next in December 15th. So recordings will be minimal, but I just wanted to get out something since it has been so long. And I likely will go into a little bit more detail um, about the experience of Milton because interestingly, I guess I can give a little teaser here. The experience from my recent past that I could most reflect upon to help me understand and process what I was going through on all the different levels of my energy fields. Post Milton, the experience was the one and only time I did LSD. And oh my God. I want to do like I've already kind of imagined doing a recording speaking about that because it's profound to me. And I don't think anything out there, even if it just helps or resonates with one other person out there, to me, it's of value to put it out, especially at these times with as powerful as these energies are and what I came to believe about my experience after that storm and what I believe that storm brought in with it. So I want to do a post Milton recording possibly in the next week before I go out of town again. And I also witnessed or watched a movie that I want to do a commentary on, the movie Naiad, about the elderly, the woman in her 60s who performed a most incredible feat of swimming from Cuba to Key West. Very interesting how I reacted to that film. And I don't see a lot of films these days, so I want to do a recording on that. And I also want to jumpstart and speak a little bit about my Ripple 2020 project as well. So those are the three videos I hope to do, perhaps in the next 10 days before I leave to Daytona on December 2nd. So that's the update. Hope everyone out there has been well. Thank you, as always, for your time and for your attention. And stay tuned if you want, because there's a lot of good stuff happening. And in Gregorian year 25, I do sense that there are going to be a lot more ways for all of the work I've been doing for the past 12 years to finally be able to be understood or viewed. And again, it's never been about that. I don't really care because ultimately I'm just trying to share that it is possible to have tremendous amount of co-creative opportunity and abilities to create the life of your dreams, to attract others who are doing the same, to redefine quite literally everything on this planet from a foundation of love and cooperation and abundance as opposed to fear, lack, and competition. It results in a very, very, very different world. And right now, my experience continues to be quite small, but those of us that are in the inner circle of my world and are, as I finally start expanding to others who are doing this for themselves and we begin to collaborate, it is doing exactly what I thought, which is blowing my hypotheses out of the water of how powerful this is. And I'm just here to share my story and to inspire others to the same power within themselves. And I hope to be able to begin delivering that in all sorts of new ways, more directly and with more opportunity for others to get out there and instantly play with how their journey goes. I'm trying to mostly be what I wish I would have had on my journey. And what I wish I would have had more than anything are greater opportunities to play with the magnificence of the unfolding of the journey as you get more and more familiar with your complete self. And just the limitless nature of what we're able to do individually and collectively. So have a good night. Chat again soon.